Wednesday, my dude.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat. Happy Wednesday, my dudes. How are you, Pat?
I am good, my dude. How are you doing?
I'm good. You're a little late today. What happened?
My OCD.
I know you and your timeliness and the borders. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are so excited to have you here on Wednesday, my dudes, where nothing much has changed. Everything's changed. I don't know, but feeling very excited about our guest. So we just want to remind everybody, please, to make sure to like and subscribe. Smash that notification bell. And Pat, do you have anything more to say before we introduce Matt?
No, just stoked to have Matthew back. He's done some great anti-war stuff, and I think this is a 3-time guest appearance.
I think it's a third time, but just for those who might not know, Matthew Hoh is a disabled Marine Corps veteran of the Iraq War, former Afghan War State Department officer. In 2009, after being appointed to the Foreign Service, Hoh resigned his post in Afghanistan over the Obama administration's escalation of the Afghan War. He is now an analyst and commentator on foreign and military policy issues as a senior fellow with the Eisenhower Media Network. He serves on the advisory boards of many peace organizations, including Veterans for Peace and World Beyond War, and is an associate member of Veteran Intelligence Professionals for Sanity. And with that, we are so excited to welcome Matt Hoh to the program again. How are you?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me back on. And I want to apologize if I triggered Pat, if I caused the problem. We're 2 minutes late because I was just running on to these guys. No. I actually thought we were live. So I kind of got in for some reason, I thought you had already been streaming and you brought me on. So I just went right into my pitch about,
that's hilarious. Well, because you were speaking so well, I didn't want to interrupt you, but now that makes sense. I get it.
Now the problem is, don't ask me to repeat myself because I can be articulate one time. And then after that, forget it.
Hey, you got me one.
Well, welcome. We had you first in 2021. Was that when you were running
22
Congress? 22. Oh, of course, right. Yeah. 2022. We had started in 2022. And then more recently, last fall, you came on with Anthony Aguilar when you were both protesting against our complicity in genocide. And today, we wanted to speak to you about these most recent articles on PTSD versus moral injury, which is something I had first heard from you a couple of years ago. I had not heard about moral injury before. But before we get to that, can we just get a breakdown from you? What is happening right now? Like, I just have to say, I don't know if it's red pilled or black pilled. I don't trust anything that anybody says in the media. I don't believe we're making some big break with Israel. I don't think we're going to keep Israel from continuing its genocide of Lebanon right now. Obviously, we don't care about Palestinians. I mean, so like, what's happening really according to your perspective?
I think that's a pretty good assessment there. I mean, start maybe at the top. The Americans appear to have accepted that they've lost the war, that the Iranian strategy of economic warfare defeated the Americans. Militarily, they fought the Americans to a stalemate. You can argue it, more in Iran's favor if you want, but you're kind of missing at this point the forest for the trees then. The reality is this war was won through economic warfare. Donald Trump said it himself today when he talked about how in 4 weeks we were going to be out of reserves. And what he's referring to is that by early July, the various oil inventories around the world, whether they be held by governments or corporations, are going to run out. And that cushion, that buffer that we've enjoyed for the last several months that have kept oil prices going past $110 a barrel will be gone. As well as, too, you're not just talking about money being put on futures contracts. You're talking about actually tanks being empty, hitting tank bottoms, as they say, which actually they're not empty, but you can never actually empty a tank or a cavern or a reservoir. You know, I mean, so this weekend, what we saw was the United States president realized that the Iranians had just closed the Strait of Hormuz for 4 more days. The American Strategic Petroleum Reserve was dipping below the lowest level it had ever been, and there was no turning that around. And that by, as I said, a few weeks from now, we were going to have no reserves, we being the entire world. And one of the things that Donald Trump talked about today was becoming Herbert Hoover, right? And becoming the president that leads us into a depression.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's the big takeaway here, is understanding how the Iranians won. Now, everything you said, Layla, is absolutely spot on. What about the Israelis? What about the Republicans? What about the Democrats? Democrats don't want to see this war ending. You read stuff coming from Adam Smith or Cory Booker, and all about emboldening Iran with this peace deal. People are having breakdowns. I don't even know if you guys saw Lindsey Graham's post where he's talking about, I mean, like, someone needs to go check on Lindsey. We need to call the South Carolina State Police and do a welfare check, because what he wrote was just, the poor guy has lost it kind of thing, you know?
So how much of this, okay, so first of all, I think a lot of people don't understand how horrific the economy is about to get, probably for all of us on a certain level, because we have such a blackout in our sort of cable corporate news that we are not hearing about what's happening in certain parts of Asia. The other thing I've heard is that China actually was incredibly helpful to the globe.
That's what it seems like. Yeah. It does. Well, China was importing 11 million barrels a day, and they cut that back by 6 or 7 million barrels and dipped into their strategic petroleum reserves, which measure above 1 billion barrels. So the Chinese were well prepared. They recognized that their role here should be in trying to maintain some degree of stability. But let's also, I think, acknowledge the Chinese saw where this was going. When Donald Trump went to Beijing back in mid-April or whenever that was, I think some people were expecting the Chinese to come into this as a deus ex machina, that the Chinese were going to come in and solve this, that they were going to play peacemaker. And they didn't. They just threw their hands up and essentially said, we don't care. They didn't say that, but that's the feeling you got. They saw where this was going. They understood that Iran was in control. Iran had clear political objectives and a strategy to achieve those objectives. And the Americans just had nothing. They had no objectives, no strategy. And that in this reality of economic warfare, that the Iranians, who have endured siege and blockade, cyber attacks, assassination, sabotage, war for 47 years now, are in a much better place. They had much greater wherewithal to endure economic warfare than the Gulf Arab states. The vehicles, they were the vehicles through which the Americans were going to supposedly play this game of economic chicken with the Iranians with. But bigger than that, the Iranian strategy brought the whole world into this war. And that was something that you just could not endure. We could not go, something that was going to have a finite cliff that we were going to hit. And this cliff appears to have been in early July. And this is why Donald Trump acted the way he did.
And I was going to ask you, the memorandum of understanding expires in 60 days, right? So don't you think that we're going to be in a much worse position at the end of this, because it's going to come in before the midterms, and Trump is not likely to re-spark up war with Iran, knowing the political consequences and blowback he would get with the Republican Party and the voters.
Okay.
So that puts us in a weaker negotiating position, I think.
Oh, there's no way to improve the American negotiating position in any way, shape, or form. The Iranians have all the leverage here. They have the leverage militarily. They have, certainly they have a missile and drone dominance over the Americans. They certainly, you saw both in the active phases of this war, so in the March and April campaign, and then even during the ceasefire, that the Iranians were the ones who were setting the terms for the warfare. They're the ones who are setting the terms of the ceasefire. So you saw the Iranians establish, say, just recently, in the last couple of weeks, escalation dominance, where they basically said, if you hit us, we are going to hit you back, but harder. I think they said 150%. I don't know how you measure that, but right. And we saw that happen during one of those engagements. The Americans blew up some Iranian speedboats. The Iranians shot down an American drone. I forget in which order that happened.
Right.
But the response then, the next step was Iran attacked American bases in Bahrain and Kuwait and punched holes in the roof of the Kuwaiti International Airport. And the Americans didn't respond. Right. And then even after this incident with the Apache helicopter, you saw the Iranians escalate that to Jordan.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this idea that the Iranians said, we will take this outside of the limited terms you believe these engagements within the ceasefire are allowed. We're in control of the terms.
Right.
So we will say where the line stops here for us to keep this within, this hot ceasefire, if you want to call it that.
Right.
So you saw this control by the Iranians. And so that extends into the negotiations as well.
And even at the very beginning, when we still haven't really heard much about that downed helicopter or not. It wasn't a helicopter. It was I don't know.
Oh, the F-15.
Yeah, F-15.
Yeah.
And I think the those of us who are conspiracy minded, was that the attempt to try to get the nuclear dust, and then that didn't work well for our troops, or we don't know, right?
I mean, it seems so impossible. Just on, maybe I'm wrong about this, but my understanding with this enriched uranium, or the nuclear dust, as the president likes to call it, is that yes, it weighs 400 kilograms, but in order to actually move it, you need specialized containers and then specialized transportation systems that weigh thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of pounds, and they're massive, they're bulky. I guess my understanding is that if this enriched uranium gets too close to each other and it's moving around, they can start off a reaction. So you've got to be very careful.
Yeah.
So the idea that you're going to send in 100 dudes with rifles,
he thought he was getting Maduro again.
Yeah, exactly. That's not. Yeah, it's not some. It's not a Venezuelan leader and his wife in their pajamas. I mean, so. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know what happened there. I don't know if we ever will. My understanding is that Michael Bay is making a movie about it. So maybe we'll get
Lord.
Right. It's better than Catherine Bigelow, though. I think with Bay, at least there'll be his own interpretation. Bigelow was just going to repeat like she did with Zero Dark 30, whatever the CIA told her.
Yeah. I mean, it really does make me feel like I can't trust anything, including the second part of this, which is Trump saying all of these rude things about Netanyahu, the 20 million scoop from Barack Ravid, and there's friction. But then, it's my dog howling. But, the thing about saying maybe we'll let Syria take care of Hezbollah, and maybe BB doesn't need to blow up a whole building every time he's going after somebody, which obviously it's not like Trump all of a sudden cares about human rights or civilians, what he's condoned in Gaza and the West Bank. He does not care at all. So why does he feel free right now? If you believe in the deep state, which I do, way more about it, and I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but why would he be doing this now? Is it because they're going to pin everything on Netanyahu and then they're just going to move on with Naftali Bennett? Or what's the point in doing this? Because we all know it's a kayfabe, right?
Well, this is Donald Trump, so anything we say, it's trying to understand this, trying to get in his mind. I mean, he's a poster child for the 25th Amendment, right? I mean, so it's difficult to, with any, but if we're speculating and trying to do informed speculation, I guess. Before Donald Trump early when he runs for president, he's asked about Israel and Palestine. And he says something along the lines that we should be more fair-minded. Mm-hmm. This was before he wins the nomination or gets close to winning the nomination, before the Israeli lobby money starts coming into his campaign.
Right.
If you go back and look at what he was saying about Israel, Palestine, he wasn't saying from the river to the sea or anything like that.
Right.
but he certainly was like, we need to be more fair-minded. He was more neutral than certainly any other American running for president in 2016, including probably Bernie Sanders at that point. But if we perhaps understand that the only thing that Donald Trump has allegiance to, the only loyalty he has, is to himself, to his self-interest and his legacy. Then we can potentially see a split here with Israel. It's a slim possibility, but it's certainly more of a possibility than any of his predecessors ever presented. This idea that,
like, linguistically, because today they're still bombing, Beirut and southern Lebanon. They have not withdrawn their forces. Israel hasn't, like, if there were going to be that break, we would stop providing cover for them and stop, because we even have our own troops over there helping them, at least with intelligence and
still remember, the MOU has not been signed yet,
right?
So there is that time, there is that space still, and I think there'll be a threshold for what constitutes a violation, and there'll be, I think, probably some timeline that the Americans will say the Israelis have to pull out. Certainly the Iranians will have thresholds as well. Attacks on Beirut will not be tolerated, and I assume the Iranians will respond to that by closing the Straits of Hormuz. That's their greatest weapon. That's the way to get Donald Trump's attention, and that's the way to really upset him. So I think that's what you're looking at, maybe limited combat still in southern Lebanon, some form of occupation, but nothing that rises to the level that endangers the memorandum of understanding. Now, we're going to have to see how sincere the Iranians are about this, though. And everything I've seen from the Iranians is that they tend to be pretty sincere. So, you hear over and over again, just again today or yesterday, Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister, is saying clearly the end of the war means the end of the occupation. Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, this is the end of the occupation is more or less politically impossible in Israel. If Netanyahu pulls his troops out of Lebanon, he loses the election. And the opposition, it is coming up in it'd be sometime in September, maybe early October. I'm sorry.
I thought it was a month from now, but yeah, I think you're.
I think it can't be any earlier than maybe end of August. But anyway, regardless, it's coming up, right? And his opposition. I mean, you see what the Israeli commentators are saying. They're saying they've never seen Israel united like this before. In their opposition to this peace deal, in opposition to ending the war in Lebanon. It was either Yair Lapid or Naftali Bennett who said, "When I become prime minister, that's when the ceasefire ends." All right. I mean, so his opposition is running firmly on this, as well as then too his governing coalition. Right. The far right governing coalition. There is no way his government survives if so for his reasons of self-interest, he can't allow this to go forward. So again, now we're back to what does Donald Trump do? And I am falling more in this line of Donald Trump is more concerned about his legacy. Donald Trump I don't think Donald Trump really cares about the Republican Party.
Oh God,
I mean, like, so, right. I mean, and interestingly too, I think this is now we're clearly seeing the setup for the 2028 GOP race, right, between Vance and Rubio, and this will be one of the dividing lines. It'll be an America First versus a neocon, Zionist, imperialist Rubio. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, Yogi Berra said it best. Predictions are hard, especially when they're about the future. And when you throw in Donald Trump into that mix, right? I mean, now your crystal ball isn't just foggy; it's cracked and half of it's melted. And
will we know that
on it or something?
Serious about it when they truly assassinate him?
Oh God! I mean, look. We had these assassination attempts on Donald Trump that. There are a lot of people saying there's some weird stuff involved in all of that. I mean, we still never really saw what happened in Pennsylvania. Even for me, who I tend to be not very, I tend to fall because I spent time in the U.S. Marine Corps and time with the federal government. I tend to, on the conspiracy incompetent axis, I almost always fall towards the incompetence side of that axis.
Really?
Yeah, it's because of my experiences and just because of
that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
But certainly these things happen. I mean, totally. I don't. Now that doesn't mean I believe that the Warren Commission got it right about JFK's death. No, absolutely. CIA killed him. You know, I mean, right? I mean, like, so these things happen, and you know,
I mean, even at the beginning, he was there were 3 assassination attempts on him, and they were all. He was told about each one of them that it was Iran. So,
total lie.
That stage
totally bogus. Yeah,
early,
exactly.
Right.
Yep. Right, exactly. That could have been certainly something. You do these false flags, try to pin it, you know, because that was always the lie about why, you know, George W. Bush was upset about Iraq, was they tried to kill his father. That was pretty much all nonsense as well, right? But it sets a storyline, it sets a narrative, and it's I think a popular narrative or a popular storyline about, you know, revenge. Right. I mean, like, or redemptive violence, if you will. So, but certainly, yeah, I mean, that could happen. I mean, you've already seen the Washington political establishment come into motion on this. The Israel lobby is going to do more than they have done since 20. If we think that the Israel lobby peaked with Tom Massey or Cori Bush or Jamal Bowman, I don't think we've seen anything yet. And I think the Democrats are eagerly anticipating that. And I believe we will see some Trump America First candidates lose their funding from the Israel lobby, and that funding go to pro-Israel Democratic candidates. Those pro-Israel Democrats were going to get money before, but now they're going to get a heck of a lot more. That's, you know, so that's just, I think, one example of what we're going to come to see. But again, Donald Trump doesn't care about the Republican Party. He cares about his legacy. And if he has decided that this Iran deal is his legacy, that he is the first president in 47. I mean, we can all recite this. We've read it so many times in his True Social message, right? I'm the first president in 47 years to stand up to the Ayatollah. Ronald Reagan didn't even do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If he's serious about it, then maybe we do see a split here. But again, this is speculation. And, you know, if you're going to go off of evidence, you know, you're going to be fall more into the line of, you know, what you were saying before, that you can't trust any of this. And
Yeah. Well, I tend to land where you are on the conspiracy scale, more or less, Matthew. But I also see the conditions right now. Israel is so trapped that a false flag in the U.S. that gets blamed on Iran seems like their only way out of this mess at this point. And I think it has to happen before the midterms to gin up support again.
And Israel has a long history of false flags. I will. So does the United States as well. There's a book by my friend Robert Fantina, blanking on the title of it in the other room, where he discusses American use of false flags throughout its history. But also, too, the Israelis throughout their history have utilized false flags. They used them quite extensively in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. People interested in a great book about that. It's called The Iron Wall by Avi Schleim. Excellent book by one of Israel's new historians. But, you know, so this is not something that they've got to come up with on their own, right? They've got to open up the file cabinet and see which, you know, what do we have on, you know, what do we have in the plans kind of thing, you know, or
does it matter that the U.S. public, I mean, it doesn't seem to matter what the U.S. public feels or the world regular people feel on any level. Because I think, you know, any time now that there is an attack at a synagogue, the immediate thought is, oh, it's a false flag. And now they're talking about like, oh, in Toronto, there are all these shootings at synagogues and it must be Iran. And nobody believes that for a second. I think based on Iran's behavior that we've all seen over the last, you know, year, and their restraint, their hesitancy, or I think they haven't at all targeted any civilian structures. It's all been military bases.
Right.
They've been, you know, for a long time, it was just horizontal escalation. Right. So like, I think we all feel like they've been incredibly restrained. And even if it is their propaganda is way more effective than US propaganda. Like it feels like we're all in this together. And when people die, that's actually really heartbreaking and sad. And like, there's all, I don't know. I don't think anybody would buy it, but I also don't think that the ruling class cares what we buy. They just want to like.
No, they really, the editorial board of the New York Times and Washington Post, and I mean, they don't care. And because just on the face of it, why would Iran do something like this? This list, in the circles I travel in, we were all pretty much uniform, the same uniform opinion that this war is going to go badly. The United States is not going to win, but I don't know any American commentators. I mean, there were some, but off the top of my mind, I just asked, I go on Nima Alkashid's program, Dialogue Works, all the time. And I asked Nima today about this. You have 15, 20 people coming on every week talking to you about this. Did anyone predict this level of victory by Iran? Right. And no one did. The only person who did was Professor Morandi from Iran. He was the only one who said it over and over again. This is going to be a big win for Iran. But the Iranians, they're getting sanctions relief. They're getting a reconstruction fund. They got a commitment, this vague commitment from the Americans to pull out of the region, whatever that means. But one thing after another. Those 14 points, and it's driving me crazy because I keep hearing American commentators on American media and anchors and reporters and such on asking, what do the Americans get out of this?
Yeah.
The Americans get out of the war. That's what this MOU does. It gets the Americans out of the war. When you're losing a war, the only thing you can do is get out of it, and that's what this MOU does. And meanwhile, this victory by the Iranians is just really breathtaking. It's astounding. And
Well, the other thing that I see a lot of, the party of opposition, Democrats, doing, as you said previously, is, like Chris Murphy also, like, we're giving them all the money and they're so dangerous and that they're terrorist supporters. And I feel like, sort of like Israel, like we just have one big blob of a party who just needs to manufacture terrorists and war for the military industrial complex. But like, it's, apart from like Ro Khanna, I don't see a lot of people speaking out about how this is a good thing. Like, cut your losses. We lost 13 of our members. We slaughtered 4,000 or however many we killed. But
it is a little bit of like the Trump always chickens out kind of thing.
It's like Taco. Yeah.
Like, look at this coward getting us out of the war that we shouldn't be in, that the Democrats, that's their stated positions, that we fought this, war for no reason, but also don't get out of it.
Right. Exactly. No, it is. It's the desire for the Democrats to see either the war continue and the energy infrastructure throughout the Gulf be destroyed, and by come November, the world not be in a recession but heading towards a depression. Americans go into the polls with 8 or 9% inflation, say, and interest rates, all of it, right? I mean, that's what the Democrats are hoping for. Or the other thing was for Donald Trump to cut a deal, make concessions that make him politically vulnerable, reap the rewards that are going to come from the Israel lobby by staying loyal to them. I think that's what the DNC, that's what the DSCCC and the DCCC have been hoping for these last few months, that this is, certainly not a cessation of the war, certainly not any type of reorientation of American foreign policy, certainly no reflection on how we got here. And it wasn't because of Donald Trump. It's because we're an empire. This is why we're here. So I do want to go back to one point that you brought up with regards to the Iranians. You look at the way the Iranians waged this warfare now on the military side. You're absolutely correct. There are very few civilian casualties. There were civilian casualties in some of the Gulf Arab states. There were some civilian casualties in Israel. You can say, the Israelis have bunkers all over the place. True, but the Iranians were not targeting civilian positions.
Hospitals, journalists.
Exactly. They were not. Now, you look at the Americans and the Israelis, we killed, as you said, nearly 4,000 Iranians, many of them civilians. And according to the United States, this is from Bloomberg, so no left-wing conspiracy rag. All right. I mean, from Bloomberg, our target set during, the tens of thousands of bombs that we dropped, only a third of them went towards military targets in Iran. 2/3 the targets that we hit during those 5.5 weeks of warfare were either civilian structures such as residential buildings, government buildings, or infrastructure like those 2 water tanks we blew up a week or so ago. I mean, and so that's the reality of American and Israeli warfare. And so this idea that the Iranians are then going to kill civilians, it doesn't. Right,
that's our lane.
I mean, we started the war bombing a girls' school. I mean, that's our entry level. I mean, I think that has a huge part of how we lost support strategically from the jump.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I went to bed. It was a Friday night. I went to bed and something had happened, and I woke up then in the morning and I saw immediately we had killed. At that point, I think they were reporting it ended up being 168. I think right. Yeah. At that point, they were saying we had 80 were dead or whatever the number was. They were still gathering information. That's how I knew we were in this war. That's how I knew the United States had launched this war. And that, of course, I think the event I'm trying to recall, the Friday before I went to bed, was the Omani foreign minister flying into Washington, D.C., trying to intervene, waving his hands in the air, saying, Witkoff and Kushner are lying to you. The Iranians are offering to essentially
more generous than the JCPOA, right? Yeah, exactly.
The Iranians essentially were offering what they're getting now in the MOU. This was the Iranian offer before. We'll downblend the enriched uranium. We commit to not having a nuclear weapon, like we've been committing to that for decades now. And with the Omanis said were that they're also open to inspectors. We've not seen anything about inspections yet. I'm sure that will come up in the 60 days. But I mean, that was confirmed by the British National Security Advisor, who wrote about it in The Guardian. So we know the Omanis weren't making this up, right? I mean, and that was how the war began, right? Yep. That was how the war began. And so it's fitting that this is the way it's ending. How else could it end? And certainly, the idea you're starting this war with less than 1 in 3 Americans supporting it, even less than that, less than 30% of Americans supporting it. That number never changed. Right. It went down, I think, actually. And what this does then in terms of for the will of the Iranian people, I recall there was a father and his daughter being interviewed on Iranian TV, a young girl, maybe she was 8 or 9 years old. And the father was being interviewed because he had gone outside his house with his hunting rifle and was shooting at American helicopters. And his daughter was with him. And he told his daughter to go back inside, but she wouldn't go back inside. In the interviewer, she asked this young girl, why didn't you go back inside? And she said something along the lines, I want to be there when my father shot down the child killers, right? I mean, that was what 92 million people in Iran understood this war to be. If they weren't already supportive of their government in this war, that massacre of their children made them supportive, right? And it did, and most of them were supportive anyway, in the sense of who wants a foreign, nobody wants bombs to, right? Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's such an incredibly grotesque Western talking point,
right? Yeah, I mean, bomb Iran to save it,
right? Exactly.
So those girls can go to school,
right?
Yeah, but they also started with regime change, and that, and so what you could have just let the natural leader pass on by death or whatever, and a more leftist institution would replace it. A less radical institution was dawned. It was going to happen, and instead you kill the guy, and his son is in charge, whose wife and father were all killed. And you drive sympathy towards him with the Iranian people, and it's just a failure at every level.
And having Hegseth out there saying we're not going to do any of those woke rules of engagement on the heels of slaughtering all these children and their teachers on the first day with a triple tap,
Right. Well, I mean, one thing, Pete Hegseth certainly provided enough. He self-incriminated himself completely in terms of if there ever to be a war crimes trial, there'd be no question that Pete Hegseth would be found guilty. Now there won't ever be
repeal the Hague Act first. Right?
Yeah, I mean, right, exactly. The Hague Invasion Act. And if people aren't familiar with the Hague Invasion Act is, after the International Criminal Court was created in around 2005, I think it was, the U.S. Congress passed a law and it was called, informally, the Hague Invasion Act.
Yep.
And this law authorizes or actually directs the American president,
Yep.
if at any time an American official or soldier or citizen is on trial for war crimes in The Hague at the International Criminal Court, the United States president is supposed to send military forces to free that person. Right? That's the law of the United States.
That's wild.
Right? I mean, that's our law. Right? I mean, so yeah, this where now the question though is, where does it all go? What does Israel do? What's the White House plan to try and control Israel? What's and the only thing I can come to that makes any rational sense again is that this is about Donald Trump's legacy. Right. Now I just use rational sense and Donald Trump in the same sentence, so take it for what it's worth.
I mean, that was the one. I didn't think he was going to be a peace president because we saw who he was in his first regime and we knew who was supporting him. But I did think that his lust for money was going to supersede. I thought he would just want to get right back to the Abraham Accord, and he was truly going to implement a real ceasefire when he first came in and all of that. But I mean, I guess that's like lack of having a rational brain.
But he's mastered getting rich, doing evil things that nobody supports. Like he can just bet on, he can buy the right stocks at the right moments, and the price of oil fluctuates, and he can get rich off of that, and get rich off of that like every week with a new statement he knows is going to trigger the market.
Well, what were the numbers on his family's crypto on the right? I mean, they've made they've made a billion or whatever, and meanwhile investors have lost 5 billion. I can't remember off the top of my head what the numbers are, but like just absolutely crazy how rigged that was, how corrupt and crooked that was, and that's just one example we can just throw out here of how they operate.
It's it feels really sad that we have no true party of opposition, and everything keeps getting taken out on the least amongst us, right? Palestinians, they're just bombing them, killing. I think they've killed 1,000 Palestinians. I mean, that's the number they count. So I'm sure it's many times that since the October ceasefire. That doesn't seem to matter in international media. Like nothing seems to matter. So, Pat, if you didn't have another question about like the current affairs.
Move on. Yeah, we're good.
Actually, I want to say, I want to thank you for bringing up the Palestinians, because I did 13 interviews last week. I think you're the 7th or 8th interview I've done this week, and you're the first person to bring up the Palestinians. So I want to thank you for that, because they truly, it's not a question that, we are going to forget about the Palestinians. We more or less have already forgotten about the Palestinians. And so thank you for bringing them up.
Thank you for saying that, but that's despicable. Jesus. And,
that's and these are, the type of shows I go on, right? Yeah. I mean, like, I'm not going on Fox News, these are folks who are very sympathetic to what we're talking about here, but it's just, I think, human nature to not remember and to focus on what's right in front of us and everything else. But and the genocide still continues.
It does. And as more and more journalists from Palestine have been slaughtered, there is a little bit less footage. So there are a few accounts that, I keep seeing what's happening, but so many of the people I used to follow have been killed.
That's absolutely true. But I watch Al Jazeera every day. Most days you're not seeing coverage there. Every third day, maybe I feel like you see coverage. Maybe.
I also think it's interesting. Al Jazeera, they talk about the people who we have been told are resistance fighters, who are like that. I think we see, even though maybe I wouldn't want to live under their control, but like they are Hezbollah, Hamas, Ansar Allah. They are resistance fighters, and they all rose up because of the IDF and Israel, right? So like that's what's never confronted. It's the proxies, the terrorist proxies, Iran's the biggest terror, and they never talk about Palestine and Palestinians and their occupation and domination and genocide. And it will never, you can kill every Hamas fighter and Hezbollah fighter, and like people will always fight for their own liberation. And that's
yeah. I mean, certainly the Al Jazeera editorial line comes from the Qatari Ministry of Communications or whatever it is. I forget what it's called over there.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just like any other platform.
Yeah.
You have to be cognizant of who they work for, right?
Yeah.
Who signs the checks.
Luckily, we don't get any checks.
There you go. I mean, that's what's great about being broke, right? You can say whatever you want.
Freedom's just another word. So I had first heard, and this is embarrassing that it took me this long, but about moral injury from you on, I don't know if it was when you were, Pat just left us.
Sorry, just grabbing a beer.
Okay. On a show with us, or if I'd seen it, when you were speaking with other people, and I found it so fascinating. I read your writing on it and other people's. In April, there was an article in Haaretz about the moral injury of IDF soldiers who are returning from the front, and talking about what they are left with and the difference between moral injury and PTSD, and how they are, the rates of death by suicide are very high, even amongst their children. More and more IDF soldiers and their families are seeking help because they are committing actions that they feel go against who they are as good moral people.
Right.
And I have a really hard time with that, even when I read that article in April, because you do not see the numbers of people taking to the streets. I mean, now a little bit more, but like pretty much 92% of the Israeli population is pro-genocide, just wipe Gaza and Palestinians off the face of the earth. And so to argue that there's some sort of like moral injury to people who seem to have no morals feels like a bit of facade, cleansing, or, but would you, and then I want to get into the Baffler article, but will you just sort of discuss the difference? And I think there's a difference also with US soldiers. All right, let's take it. There's so much going on in my head. I would love to hear the way you describe moral injury versus PTSD for soldiers or troops, military people.
Right. So moral injury is a wound, if you will. And it's not only something that soldiers endure. Anybody can endure this. And the example, I'll give you an example in a moment that people will understand. But moral injury is what occurs when you transgress, when you violate your morality, you violate your religious convictions, you violate your upbringing. This is expressed through regret, shame, guilt. And the best example I give to people to understand this is Lady Macbeth. If you think back to high school and Lady Macbeth, she doesn't even wield the knife, but she has that invisible blood, that ghostly blood on her hands, out, damn spot, out.
Right.
That's essentially moral injury. It is a psychic, emotional, spiritual wound that really gets to the foundations of who you are. It's existential. You go from viewing yourself as, now say in the context, I mean, anyone can have it. Like I said, high prevalence in healthcare workers, first responders, people who are often in life and death situations.
Right.
But anyone can experience it. There's another aspect to moral injury as well. So when I was just describing there, it describes a betrayal of the self, right? You betrayed who you believed you were. You thought you had a white hat on. Turns out you had a black hat on.
Right.
The other aspect of moral injury is being betrayed. So you have trust in an individual or an institution, and that betrayal then performs the same, carries out the same, devastation. Right. Your foundations of who you are gone because you have believed in something, trusted in something, you're giving your life to it. Right. So you, in the veterans context, you join the Army, you join the Marine Corps, you believe in this, you believe in your country, you're patriotic. And then they send you to war in Iraq, a war built on lies, a war for oil, a war for whatever.
Right.
You see this most poignantly in the military setting, in military sexual trauma. You see this betrayal where oftentimes it's subordinates who are raped by their superiors, right? So a young female or male soldier raped by their squadron leader, right? And then it's further enforced. It's further reinforced, I should say, by the refusal of the institution to support you. Right. So you're raped by your squad leader, you go to your command, and your command tells you to shut up, and they don't do anything about it. So it's that type of betrayal, but certainly you can see that in other institutions as well. Say healthcare workers during COVID, right? That betrayal on all kinds of different levels. We're not even going to give you the appropriate PPE to deal with this pandemic, as well as health workers are trying to kill us by giving us these shots or whatever it was. That type of betrayal, right? So that's essentially what moral injury is. Post-traumatic stress disorder is more of a neurochemical, neurobiological disorder. This is basically your fight or flight system is out of whack. It's stuck on. So you can imagine, say you're a soldier in Iraq or Vietnam or what have you. You're an Iranian sailor on a boat in the Persian Gulf. And every day people are hunting you and you are hunting other people. How do you turn off your fight or flight system, your limbic system there? That nervous response of adrenaline and cortisol is constantly surging through your body. This is most often the case, what's called complex PTSD, where you have multiple traumas, but certainly you can also have PTSD from a singular trauma, from a violent event, from an accident, from something, that shocked you, that traumatized you. And so, both moral injury and PTSD are, they're comorbid very often. And they often present with the same manifestations and the same symptoms. So it's very difficult to tell one from the other sometimes. Now, you can, in the sense that, for my PTSD, I get a nerve block. And this nerve block anesthetizes the nerve that's responsible for producing those survival chemicals, right? So my body's not constantly pumping out, right? And then, but when you're not regulating it that way, so the PTSD main symptoms of hyper awareness, hyper startle, constantly being on edge, right? Checking to make sure your doors are locked, things like that. That's not the same as moral injury. But when you start talking about the secondary and tertiary, the substance abuse, the depression, the mood issues, the sleep disorders, the sexual dysfunction, the financial problems, all those types of things, well, then you're really seeing those things overlap. And, it's something that was not well understood until the last years. Most people have never heard of moral injury, but PTSD itself was something that wasn't recognized by the American Psychiatric Association until I think it was 1980 or 1981. So, I mean, and it's always been around. Homer writes about it. Shakespeare writes about it. And if people want a good book as an entrance to it, a guy named Jonathan Shays many years ago wrote a book called Achilles in Vietnam, where if you go and you read the Iliad, you're going to see that Achilles has moral injury and PTSD. Right. And it's the same manifestation as happening to soldiers in Vietnam, as happened to soldiers in World War II, as happened to soldiers in the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, in the War of Roses, Agincourt. I mean, it's always been with us.
So, okay. So just in this article, sorry, I'm going to put, it's going to cover us for a minute. This article is from The Baffler. It's Yoga PTSD in the IDF Warrior Pose by Mary Turfa. And her argument through this is that there is this conception that Israelis have of themselves, what they talk about all the time, the most moral army in the world. They are the light. Everybody else is the enemy. Amalek, finish, they all have to be slaughtered. It's very black and white. Yoga became this, they sort of took pieces of yoga of the philosophy, Eastern philosophy that appealed to them, left the rest behind, and it became more like visiting a spa than maybe what a true yogi would believe or feel. But I think probably a lot of US people do that also. But that the idea that there is moral injury somehow absolves people of their responsibility. That is, I am maybe like simplifying overly what she is saying in this. I should have highlighted this. Okay, in the video, a woman is asked if she feels mental health in Israel is in crisis today. Oh, completely a crisis. Tens of thousands of people are dealing with PTSD, but no one talks about it. A Reuters report from January 2026 shares that the incidence of PTSD among soldiers is up by almost 40% since September 2023. They're traumatized, allegedly, over fear of death and what they did to others, suffering moral injury over accidental killing of innocents, according to a clinical expert. Setting accidental to the side, nationally, the prevalence of PTSD could be as high as 30%, double that of pre-October 7th, with 42% of young adults, many of whom have or will serve in the military. So what, what happens, and I know our most pressing issue right now isn't how did Israelis get this way and what's going to happen to their victims now in the future, right? Like I think I'll just want the wars to end and stop the slaughter and the genocide. But because we're always looking like for the root cause, and I know that Zionism started before the Holocaust, but the Holocaust of World War II helped infuse a certain project of we have to be the Übermenschen and we can't be like the weak Holocaust victims. We need to be strong and kill them before they kill us. Right. It's disgusting. It's wrong. Look what it's led to 2 genocides. They're a lunatic nation, bombing their 7 neighbors, all of that. But how do we, first of all, they're forced, I mean, they can go to jail, but basically everybody enlists, right? Everybody has to enlist, unlike in the US, where it's a choice. And then they are very separated from the people they're told want to kill them.
Right.
Again, I am not absolving any of these people. There is an internet. There are plenty of Israelis who have made the jaunt over to meet actual Palestinians, and they have
absolutely
from the very beginning. So I'm not trying to absolve anybody, but as we were talking about somebody like a Graham Plattner, whom his ideology of economic socialism, he seems anti-war now, anti-genocide, but he kept enlisting to go back even with Blackwater, with mercenary companies. And I guess I'm just trying to make sense of moral injury for people who do truly the most abominable war crime of genocide. Does that give them some cover? And is that necessary for them not to become total sociopaths forever in perpetuity? Maybe that's important.
Right. It's this idea that because you have moral injury, it shows that you're good. Because if you weren't good, you wouldn't feel bad about the terrible things you did.
Right.
Right.
It's so much better said than what I just said.
Right, yeah. And they're right. I think it was Moshe Dayan who said, I hate the Palestinians, to paraphrase, I hate the Palestinians because they make us kill their children. Right? I mean, I forget exactly how.
Another one like that.
Yeah, maybe it was. I forget. I thought it was Moshe Dayan, but and plenty of Israelis have said plenty of things like that.
Yeah.
But certainly, this. Well, how do you arrive at a place to experience moral injury? You have to have some type of foundation, some type of ideas of right or wrong.
Right.
Now, where does that idea of right or wrong come from?
Right.
And how much of it comes from a righteous supremacist viewpoint, right? And how much of it is, say, for this is with the Israeli experience, but we can use it also with the American experience very easily. I'm trying to recall the name of the author. He was in Vietnam. I've got Phil Caputo stuck in my head because Phil just passed away. But
we just showed a story of his that was
right?
Horrifying. Yes.
Right. Yeah. And but anyway, the quote regarding the Americans is there's a setup to it, and a guy's at a bar essentially, and he's going on about how bad he feels about what they did in Vietnam.
Right.
And the rejoinder is, isn't it a typically American thing for American boys to want people to feel bad for them because they burned down someone else's villages?
Right.
Right. I mean, so I think a lot of it comes from what our societal expectations are,
Right.
where our right and wrong comes from.
Yeah.
I think in that Baffler article, she makes the point of that Haaretz, when it speaks about moral injury, describes the killings of Palestinians as being accidental, right? I mean, so not even taking on or addressing the deliberate murder of these of 75,000, or it's actually more than that, as we know, right? But I mean, so where does your moral energy come from, and what is it seeking? Is it trying to put you back into the right box where your people are right, your people are ethical, you are not the terrorists, we don't do things like this? This is what I think frames much of the Israeli discussion, at least as described in that Baffler article, is that we're not the terrorists.
Yeah.
And Netanyahu and Ben Gvir and Smotrich and this right-wing government has forced our soldiers to do things that those people do. Right. And we need to rectify this. We need to bring them back and assure them that they are good. It's just that they were put in a terrible position by their government.
Yeah.
And this is the line you hear about the United States very often. When dealing with moral injury, people will try and assuage, veterans and say, well, no, your government sent you there. Yes, but you're the one who joined the army. You're the one who pulled the trigger. I think for many of us who were in the euphoria we felt, it wasn't joy, but the sense of purpose, as well as the sadism that many of us embraced. I know a man who went to Iraq. He was in Mosul and in Tel Afar, and he became a sadist. He wasn't that way before, and he became a sadist. And he shot and killed an Iraqi man just to shoot and kill an Iraqi man, right? I mean, and that now many sadists join the military, right? And many people go through the military and are numb to any feelings this way, any emotions. They're able to compartmentalize it, regulate it, and all that. You know a lot of veterans who walk around with these doors closed in their heads. Right. And this causes all kinds of other psychiatric problems, but because they know if they open that door, they won't be able to close it.
Right.
But for many, to go, to use the Dick Cheney phrase, you joined the dark side. Yeah. And I could tell you one of the things that has haunted me about what I did in that war was I raised my head and said, let's do it. And, one of our battalions wanted to, when they killed Iraqi resistance, they wanted to basically prevent the mothers from coming and taking the bodies. So they were asking for authorization to set guards, pickets around the bodies so that the mothers, the families couldn't take those bodies so that the dogs would eat them, right? And I'm a person who sat there and said, yes, let's do that. That's what the war I became. Right. And so and I can't put that on George W. Bush. Right. I can't put that on the fact that I grew up in this hyper militarized culture and I watched too many John Wayne movies as a kid. No, that's all on me. And with my moral injury, it never got to a point where I didn't become suicidal until I actually took responsibility for it, took accountability for it, and said, no, I was wrong. I was craven. I was the one who was participating in this war because I had, these beliefs, or because I thought that this would make me, is better for my life and experience and all those types of things. Right. I had to address all that. Right. And then you have to, also them find it's very difficult place to forgive yourself without forgetting. And, you have, because if you don't forgive yourself, then, and then you have to if that forgiveness is legitimate, how are you going to live your life? right? So if it's just a question of like George W. Bush sent me to Iraq and I did these terrible things and I hated myself for it, but then I realized it was about George W. Bush, and then, this war with Iran, though, until you address, okay, so what were the principles here? What were the foundations? What was this existential crisis that had me suicidal for years? What was that all about? And it's okay, I have to come to this understanding of who I am. And that I did these things, and I did these things voluntarily. And I can forgive myself. I will never ask forgiveness from any Iraqi. It's unforgivable what I did. So I think this is a type of thing. And so you can see why, the pantheon of invisible wounds for American veterans, and just also to caveat with what we went through is nothing compared to what the Iraqi or the Afghan people went through, of course. But the of traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and moral injury, and I have all three. And the moral injury is the worst by far. I have migraines that have kept me from working for years, and that's nothing compared to the moral injury, right? To that existential blackness, to that loss of your soul, essentially. Who you believe you were is gone. And then you have to rebuild it. And so to really heal from it, you'd have to make amends, make some form of reparations, but then live your life in a way that is consistent with what your actual morals and intentions are. And so to get back to this Baffler article, if that's not being addressed, if it's just basically saying, it's okay, wiping it off and saying, no, it's just because of Netanyahu, then, as well as getting into the larger societal elements here, of is your moral injury based upon the righteousness, the supremacy of your society? Is this based because now you're seeing Israelis starving children to death? Oh, well, that's not how it's supposed to be. They're the terrorists. We're the victims always, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I would argue the difference when you look at their people leaving the military and with the moral harm, and ours is that they started as all sadists. Not all, but like 99% sadists. They went in with ideology that led them to think these things that they were going to do were okay, and then they had to do them, and then that actually caused the harm.
I'll tell you, we had a lot of kids going to Iraq and Afghanistan who were eager to kill, who were looking forward to killing. And among the infantry, the idea that you might not kill somebody while you're over there would be too much to take, kind of thing. So we certainly had ours. Some of that is they come in that way. Others, it's inculcated. You bring a young man into the, now woman too, because the women are in the infantry. You bring a young man or woman into the Marine Corps, you're going to make a rifleman or a riflewoman out of them. And, it's 10 weeks or 13 weeks of recruit training, so boot camp. And then they go for 6 to 8 weeks of infantry training. And then they go, call it the fleet. They go out to their unit and they just train to kill in a environment that stresses this pseudo-academic, quasi-intellectual, pseudo-scientific killology, right? So there is that, certainly in our culture as well and within our military as well. And then you think about all these pilots that were just dropping bombs, killed 4,000 civilians. What is their justification? How do they deal with it? How do they keep those doors in their minds closed? I think a lot of it is they remain in a bubble. And this is one of the reasons why you actually see, I believe, a big difference in the suicide rates among active duty soldiers versus the suicide rates among veterans. Now, over the last 20 years, we've seen a real growth in the rate of suicide among active duty soldiers, as well as in the reserve and guard, but it's nowhere near the rate of suicide among veterans. And I think it's because when you're active duty, or say you're even in the reserve or guard, you're still in a bubble, right? You're still in a team. You're still a part of the mission, and you're just not getting that information coming to you. And you don't really care that much about it as well, because you are focused on your team, on your mission, on your unit. You're in that bubble.
Right.
That's changed a lot too, though, because of, these things in social media and programs like yours. I'm sure you've got active duty soldiers who are watching your program. We've got not a lot of leftists in the military, but there are some, right?
You know,
so that ability to penetrate that bubble, I think, is a big difference from, say,
right.
particularly 20 years ago.
I think also having the facade be stripped away, as grotesque as it is to have somebody like Pete Hegseth at the front leading the troops and saying we're not going to do any more of that woke, rules of war, and with all of his tattoos and the Department of War and all of that, there's something just like with everything about Trump that just rips that mask off.
Right.
And you can't pretend to be, as you said, the sort of like civilized warrior who is contemplative about what, like those sort of ideas I think that we have from older cinema, that there was something almost, appealing, and the rules of conduct where it's like, no, actually it's pretty horrifying, especially because all of our wars have been wars of choice here, right? So like that makes it different also.
And Pete Hegseth is not this aberration. Pete Hegseth is exactly who the Pentagon deserves. Pete Hegseth is exactly what the Pentagon has produced. It's exactly right. You engage, as you said, Layla, with these wars for generations now, wars of choice. You take part in a Pentagon military industrial complex that is just absolutely crooked and corrupt and can't pass audits, and whose whole purpose is just to enrich corporations, not defend the United States. You take part in all these things generation after generation, of course you're going to end up with a Pete Hegseth, right? I mean, so Pete Hegseth is just the boil on the skin, or whatever the right. Analogy is for that. Absolutely. Just in the same way that Donald Trump is not an aberration. He is exactly what our political system produced, and whatever comes after him, God help us, right?
Yeah. But, it is interesting, though, to have a society, even I understand what you're saying about the bubble, and, it's so fascinating, your experiences, and, horrifying on so many different levels. But the difference, I think, is that U.S. society is mostly anti-war and protests it and speaks out about it. And that's not what's happening in Israel. And my fear, and again, this isn't like the most pressing issue, but what will Palestinians become after they have been shown that like they could broadcast their own genocide live and nobody stepped in to help them? And that sense of abandonment and victimization, where will that lead? Like if October 7th in Israelis' warped mind justified this as a response, what do the last 2.5 years justify in Palestinians' minds?
Well, one thing I want to say, just getting back to say the MOU, this peace deal or whatever we're calling it. One of my fears is that the deal that will be cut with the Israelis is that you back out of Lebanon, we'll let you do whatever the hell you want with Palestine. You give up Lebanon, you back out, you pull your troops, you pull back to where you were on February 27th, 2026. And we're going to keep real quiet on Palestine. Not that they're saying anything about Palestine, but I think that would be the deal that's cut. And certainly for the Israelis, we have to recall that the most important thing for them is the West Bank. Iran is not the priority. Syria is not the priority. Lebanon is not the priority. Gaza is not even the priority for the Israelis. It is and has been and will be the West Bank. And you can look at the Israeli warfare over the last, say the last few years, but over decades, actually, and seeing that these operations in Lebanon and Syria, genocide in Gaza, getting the United States to be in this war with Iran, are all essentially supporting efforts or shaping efforts to isolate the West Bank, trying to make sure the Palestinians have no support, whether that be moral, political, economic, military, diplomatic, what have you. And so, that's one of the reasons why the Israelis are so pressed, they press so hard to try and split the notion of a Palestine, right? The Israelis, they don't like the idea of a Palestine anyway, but also, too, they have a more tactical desire to get people to talk about Gaza and the West Bank and make it so it's separate, right? So you're isolating the Palestinians in the West Bank
Right.
from the Palestinians in from Gaza in the minds of the international community.
Right.
Right. I mean, so, but, for the Israelis, the goal is the West Bank. And so if, they view October 7th as giving them the best opportunity they've had in generations, the Israelis speak about this is the opportunity to rectify the mistake that was made by Ben Gurion in 1948 by not going all the way to the Jordan River, right? I mean, this is how the Israelis talk, and not just the members of Netanyahu's coalition, which is what you're getting to, Leila. This is how it's spoken about throughout society. There is no one of any political significance whatsoever in Israel who is not in favor of Greater Israel. Now, there's divisions, right, among whether Greater Israel is the West Bank, essentially Gaza, parts of Lebanon, or it's the full Nile to the Euphrates, right? I mean, there's divisions in that sense. But there is no one of any political significance. And I can tell you the times I've been there, I've been to Palestine. Last time I was there was 2024. And I saw it was like a mental police state in Israel. It really was. I mean, we get all of our news right from Israel, based from the English press out of. So, and that is nothing compared, and that has very little significance whatsoever in Israel, where it's the Hebrew language press is what dominates. And so, if you're reading Berates or Plus 972, you're not getting the sympathies, the understanding, as you were just describing, of an Israeli population that, the public opinions polls show anywhere from about 80% to 92% support for this genocide, depending upon how it's articulated. Right.
But so that just brings me back to the idea of Iran being, what they've been labeled the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. Right. And that won't change. Like, will Hezbollah stop because Israel's told, like, you can just go off and slaughter all Palestinians everywhere? Will Ansar Allah, so even if they say that, who's going to save the Palestinians? Like, what's going to happen? Who's going to step in and save them? I really hope that Iran doesn't do that. But I keep hearing that, they don't control Hamas, and Hamas is in negotiations with the Palestinian Authority and other groups, but there doesn't seem to be much progress because they are dealing with people who don't want peace. With the Israelis who don't want peace. There's no cohabitation.
I think your first question about how does it stop or how does it end? It never ends. I wrote a piece a couple weeks ago about this. I recall the film Gladiator. And at the very beginning, when Russell Crowe's character, General Maximus, has got his legions and they're in Germany, and one of his lieutenants turns to him and he says, because the German barbarians have come out of the woods and they're going to fight the Roman legions now. And this, Roman officer turns to Russell Crowe and he says, people should know when they're conquered. And Russell Crowe's response is, would you, Quintus? Would I? And, this idea of accepting occupation, accepting subjugation, accepting foreign dominance. One is against international law. So all the groups you just referenced there all have a right under international law to arm resistance. Clear as day. There's no
to try to stop a genocide.
Absolutely. Well, not even with genocide, just occupation. Right. People have the right under international law, it's been articulated numerous times by the United Nations, to armed resistance. Now, more than that, I think we go to natural law now, though. And the idea of submitting, the idea of being subjugated, the idea of being occupied is something that is anathema, I think, to our species, right? However we developed our societies, our tribes, our clans, whatever, that imbued in us, I think, this understanding of sovereignty. And so the idea of how do you erase someone's sovereignty? Well, you have to either subjugate them or you have to ethnically cleanse them. And, that's why the Israelis see this as the best possible opportunity to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. Now with the Iranians, one of the things that people have been talking about, the Iranians the last few weeks is, wow, look at the Iranians. They didn't just have the wherewithal to defend their sovereignty, right? To establish deterrence for themselves. They've been able to extend that to the Lebanese.
Right.
But what comes with that realization is that the Iranians don't have the capacity to extend that then to the Palestinians. They've made some comments. There was a post the Iranian government put out a couple weeks ago talking about how they were going to extend their missile and drone fires to support the Palestinian resistance. I mean, you see onesies and twosies like that, but certainly not policy. And that's just the reality. That's just unfortunately the practical reality that the Iranians don't have that capacity to extend it to the Palestinians. And so I think with the Palestinians, now you're back to, Thucydides and this, the dictum of the strong do as they want and the weak suffer as they must. And I don't see anyone coming to support the Palestinians. I don't see anyone coming to save the Palestinians. I don't believe in hope. I believe in resistance and defiance and in solidarity, but I don't believe in hope. And, when I was there 2 years ago, previous time I've been there was 2017, and very few Palestinians I spoke to talked about leaving. When I was there in 2024, I spoke to Palestinians all the time who wanted to get out because they know what's coming and they want to get out because of their children. Right. And it's totally understandable. And so Israelis have published their plan for the ethnic cleansing it's not like they're doing this in secret. They literally have published a plan. We're going to push everyone into 7 cities, right? They have published that plan. And we saw what happened in Gaza. We see Benjamin Netanyahu standing at the podium and he says, how much of Gaza should we take? And someone yells out 100%. And Netanyahu says, well, not yet. Let's just go to 70 right now.
Yeah, he's starting with it.
Right. And we're sitting here watching this and they do it. And now the Israeli army in Gaza is extending their lines to push the Palestinians back to only 30% of the Gaza Strip. That's active right now. It's happening right now. It's what time here? It's 9:15. So it's about 4 in the morning there or so, whatever time. Yeah, you have IDF forces who are getting up in an hour or so to start their bulldozers and begin to push that yellow line another couple hundred meters westward in Gaza. That's occurring every day right now. And they say it out loud. Right? So who's going to come? Who's going to stand up for them?
Reporters like Steve Inskeep from NPR. I bring this up all the time because I was like gobsmacked. And this was about 2 years ago, talking to somebody in a tent in Gaza who said like he wanted to leave because he has children and it's horrifying. And Steve Inskeep was like, wait, so you would want to leave? So what? So that's what Israel wants. So that's great. Like it's all working out so great. I don't know. I don't know how we fix the people who are ruling us, the Epstein class, the complete sociopaths.
I don't think they can be fixed. They can only be defeated. Yeah. And certainly we saw the Iranians defeat the American empire. Whether or not that will stick, right? Everything we're talking about right now could be overcome by events, right? So someone could be I don't have my
working on it.
I can't read the comments there, but someone could be furiously commenting, no, this just happened, and I have no.
I know, it's so. Right? We're not seeing it this moment, but something's always happening. It's just like one atrocity after another. Right.
So you have, the only way to deal with these people is to defeat them. That's it. There's no arguing with them. There's no rationalizing with them. There's no code of law that they respect. There's nothing other than defeating them. And Donald Trump, and this is what was so brilliant about the Iranian strategy here. The Iranians, again, and they prepared militarily and they fought the Americans and the Israelis and the Gulf Arab states symmetrically and asymmetrically. We can go into all of that, right? But where they fought well or where they achieved their victory was with their economic warfare. Right. And that economic warfare was something that they understood. First of all, they survived 47 years of blockade and siege and all of that. But they also understood the vulnerabilities of the world economic system, our globalized trade, our dependency on fossil fuels. And then more to the point, they understood that it's the politics, it's the political level of warfare that is supreme. Yeah. And so the Iranians pursued a strategy of, one, extending this war worldwide through economic warfare, primarily by closing the Straits of Hormuz, but also, two, by attacking Gulf Arab state energy infrastructure, right? And the other side of that, though, then is also, too, their horizontal expansion of the war. I mean, they sent missiles to Turkey. They sent missiles to Cyprus, right? I mean, this idea of bringing in these countries that didn't want to be in the war, putting that political pressure on the Americans that way, right? I mean, and causing this political stress. I mean, and that is how the Iranians won this war. And if you want to understand why the Iranians are a world power, it's just not simply because they control the Straits of Hormuz, or they can build however many hundreds of ballistic missiles every month. It's because they actually are competent enough to fight and win wars. That's what makes you a world power. You know, I mean, that's how you defeat an empire, is competency, having having clear objectives, and then putting in place strategies to achieve those objectives. But then also, too, understanding it's the political level of warfare is what dominates. I mean, we'll go back to Clausewitz on this. I mean, go back to even Sun Tzu. This is what's about. And this idea that our flashy missiles and our $13 billion aircraft carriers and our B-2 bombers, that's not what wins wars. It's the political level. It's the will.
The art of the deal.
Yeah. I'm sorry?
It's the art of the deal.
The art of the deal. Very, it is. I mean, it is essentially that. You saw essentially Donald Trump did not have the will to continue this war because of the economic cliff that we're all driving up to in July. Donald Trump's will, first of all, he never had the will of the American people. The American people never supported this war. So right away, he lost the war. But also, too, but his own personal will was defeated. He wagered, he understood that it was better for him to get out of this war than to continue this war, even though he had said all these things. He'd sent all these forces there. His man, Marco Rubio, is going to stand behind him and pout like he did today. Did you guys see that pouting display by Marco Rubio? So many
clips. That was hilarious. I mean, Trump just kept sticking his foot in it and nobody could stop him. It was crazy.
Right. And so, but also, too, he's doesn't seem to be concerned that Miriam Adelson's going to be very upset with him, you know. But Trump also did say something today about how he got asked about how people were upset with him. And he said, those people are no longer my friends. So we'll see what that actually means.
If he gets clipped in his other ear.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so
then I'll believe that that's true. Otherwise, it's all an act in my mind. But yes,
I grew up outside New York City, so I've known Donald Trump my entire life. You know, and a boy in the 1980s and stuff, following this, and I've always despised him. And so for me to be talking in this way about him, you know, is really
like vomiting in your mouth a little bit. I know. Which was also really illustrative of who the Clintons were, because I also from, New York, and everybody hates him and knew how repulsive he was. And they were still golfing with him up until 2016 and going to weddings. Right. So
Right.
Matt, it is an hour and a half. We told you we'd only take you for 45 to an hour. Thank you for this conversation. You have so much knowledge and you describe the situation so beautifully. We really appreciate your coming on and talking with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys having me back on, and thank you for what you all do, with your show, and keep doing it. Keep doing it, because this is what scares the hell out of them, right? This is what's the dangerous thing to them. This is what the powers that be, the ruling class, the establishment, the elite, the empire, whatever you want to call them, this is what they're terrified of.
We're all terrified of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but they're terrified of you guys. They're terrified of information, right?
Yeah. You are amazing. Everybody in the chat, thanking you for this deep conversation and your breadth of knowledge. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
We would love to have you back anytime.
All right. Well, hey, you guys have a good night. And thanks everyone for watching. And happy to come back anytime.
Thank you.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Good night, guys.
Good night. Wow. That, what a story. We didn't get into the article in the way I wanted to analyze all the words of the Haaretz one in juxtaposition to the other one, but maybe that was a little too nerdy to have to do with a guest. I wanted to but I probably should have highlighted stuff. It was just really amazing to see these yoga instructors in Israel still talking about their, purity and goodness. And it is so hard to reconcile how they can even say those words out loud. I don't know. I'm having such a difficult time. And also the project on some level of trying to prevent another country existing that is like Israel. And I don't know what happens to people who have been treated the way Palestinians are treated.
Yeah, whatever they do, they're justified. Go for it. Do it.
And that's what people said about Jews after the Holocaust. And that's my worry.
I mean, to the people that deserve it.
Yes.
I mean?
Okay. That is a big difference. That's actually the enormous difference. Of course that is.
Yeah.
But I think what happens when you have that kind of permission,
Yeah. And not to infuse some hope, but
no, none of that here. Yeah. No, go ahead.
When I was thinking about this, look, Israel's they're the ones that are going to wreck this deal. They're the ones that are going to eventually bomb Iran and do all the bad things, right? So the ratcheting up from Iran's perspective could be, now we're including Palestine. Now we have more world support, which will be more likely the more we fracture ourselves from and separate ourselves from Israel.
Right.
So as this line progresses of politicians not being able to run pro-Israel in the U.S.,
right,
and they are obligated to at least present some sort of fracturing thing,
right,
that makes conditions more ripe for at least our allies to believe what we're saying,
right,
and then themselves separate themselves from Israel, and then Iran feels justified to throw in Palestine, and the world is already growing more and more hatred towards Israel for the genocide in Palestine. So maybe that's how we get some help for Palestine. I mean, maybe. But we have to do our part here to break our country from Israel. That's our job.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like that's the way we're headed, but it just isn't fast enough for hundreds of thousands of people. But, All right, let's get a little moment of joy in here.
Wait, did you want to?
Pat, were you going to say you want to do the cheers?
I was, but we can just do some music.
Should we? And then we'll do the cheers. I just felt like we maybe just needed like a moment, but
yeah, absolutely. Here's Nico play his song "Alien."
That is why the man said this revolution will be telepathic.
Who's an illegal alien in the land of the free, where the Native Americans predecessed all you see? In the home of the brave, where self-defense is the key. When an officer gets scared, he can kill readily. There's a nationwide crackdown, ICE deployed on our streets. They can hunt you for being brown, watch as history repeats. If the goal's catching criminals, Trump is more felonies than any individual that ICE claims to have seized. Don't you see he's a hypocrite? Know your own enemy. It was never the immigrant, but the oligarchy.
He's great. What was his name? I'm looking that up again.
Nico
Brian-
Play.
Where is that? Oh, I see it. Nico Play. That was great.
Yep.
I loved it.
Yeah, he's good. Cheers. Should we go to cheers?
Yeah, let's do cheers, and then we'll throw in a Lego because we got many requests and we got
There
lots.
you
of
go.
requests. All right. This is Mahmoud Khalil, who was the negotiator at Columbia, the grad student who was incarcerated, missed the birth of his first child. The Trump administration is still coming after him after so many Stanford graduates walked out on the Google CEO the other day. They brought in Mahmoud Khalil for the speech that those graduating students actually deserved.
I have never attended a graduation ceremony. Over a year ago, while my classmates walked across a stage, I sat behind bars on a bunk in an ICE detention center in Louisiana. My crime was literally speaking out against Israel genocide in Gaza. My crime was refusing to stay silent. But my story is not unique. That students are not passive observers of history. A movement led by students from all backgrounds, coming together with a shared sense of justice. History rarely remembers the people who told them to sit down. History remembers the people who stood up. The cost of speaking out can be real, very real, but so is the cost of remaining silent. What good is an education if it teaches us how to succeed but not to care? The purpose of education is not simply to inherit the world as it is, but to build the world as it should be. And when the moment comes to choose between comfort and conscience, choose conscience. The future is justice. The future is Palestine. Thank you so much, everyone.
That's every lesson we've all been taught from US propaganda cinema my whole life. So I don't understand how they expect that we're going to reject that. It's been like inculcated in us that we are supposed to be the heroes and that the heroes do go against the grain. And then they're throwing people in jail for going against genocide.
It's so obviously free speech. And here's this guy, like, yes, we're celebrating that he's out and speaking as he should have been. But think of the crimes we did to this guy. This guy's been in jail for so long. For what? For something granted in the first fucking amendment or second amendment. Like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah, it's and
these institutions, like, that's the wild part to me, that there was so little solidarity for free speech from both our media and these colleges. It's just embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. It's also so dangerous. And it's that labeling people terrorists so that and this is, that's what they're doing now to, I think some of the Delaney Hall protesters, they are materially helping terrorist activities by being legal observers. Or no, maybe it's that it is Delaney, where they were legal observers of what ICE was doing, but then they become supporters of terrorism. Because if you have labeled anybody who is fighting against the government, even if the government is doing illegal activities against its own citizens, or against anybody's citizens, against humanity, fighting back against that, you're the terrorist. So Hezbollah is the terrorist, Hamas,
It goes farther than that. If you support the GoFundMe of one of these guys, you're a terrorist.
That's what they did to.
Oh, you backed the legal support group for the guy that people that were killed in the rainforest. I forget his name.
Tortuguito. For Cop City. Yeah.
They
And the
tried to go
socialist-
after all those people as terrorists.
The socialist African, I can't remember the name of that group, Uduru or something. I'm getting it all wrong, but they were prosecuted for, it was RICO charges for fundraising for bail for people who were charged as domestic violent extremists. So like, it's a huge dragnet. we're all going to be part of it. Uhuru, thank you, Saul and NorCal and Kimiko. Okay, you guys are way better than I am. Thank you, Sis Medeo. Thank you for your super chats. For Pally, action sentence. I mean, it's incredible.
Tortuga, thank you.
Tortuga. And Tortuguita, I think, because he was like, Tortuga. Okay.
Little Tortuga.
Yeah. The judge said that there was a difference between the suffragette movement and the Palestine Action direct action. And I mean, the suffragette movement, they bombed people, they killed people. Like, they did not, it wasn't like, hey, we should all just vote, peaceful resistance. And the only things that got hurt by Palestine Action were weapons of genocide. It's just fucking crazy. Uhuru.
Legos. We need some Legos in our life.
Yes, we do. Okay. And thank you, everybody who, everybody had Uhuru. I need all of you in my brain. Well, you did it. Thank you. You all were in my brain right away. Thank you. Okay. Tortuguita. Yeah. Okay. Let's do, 1 second. Sorry. One wrong move. Lebanon is the line. This is Persia Boy.
They thought the deal was just about us. They forgot about Lebanon. One wrong move in Lebanon, the whole thing breaks. Iran already said it, don't make that mistake. You strike Beirut, we strike back harder. You stay in the south, we reset the order. Lebanon is the line, Hezbollah stands tall. You cross that line, we burn it all. One wrong move, that's all it takes. The deal dies with it, make no mistake. You signing papers but still bombing the south, still occupying land with blood in your mouth. You thought the deal was only Iran and the throne, but Lebanon was written out, you're in the wrong. Iran said it clear, Iraqi spelled it out. Any attack on Lebanon, the deal goes south. You hit Beirut again, we already warned you twice. Third time's the trigger, we don't play nine. One wrong move in Lebanon, the whole thing breaks. Iran already said it, don't make that mistake. You strike Beirut, we strike back harder. You stay in the south, we reset the order. Lebanon is the line, Hezbollah stands tall. You cross that line, we burn it all. One wrong move, that's all it takes. The deal dies with it. Netanyahu testing limits, pushing the red line, but Iran already drew it in blood and in time. You wanted the deal, now you gotta respect it. Lebanon is protected, don't ever forget it. One wrong move and the gates open wide. We already showed you what happens when we ride. So stay in your place or prepare for the storm. Lebanon's not alone, that's the final warning. Sacred defense. One wrong move. Lebanon, that's the line. Sacred defense.
It's fun. It gets me riled up. I really like it.
Honestly, yeah, I love it. But I do think somehow through this escalation, we get to some actual security in the Middle East, which we've got to get Palestine in there. And I think Israel is so blood hungry, bloodthirsty, whatever you want to call it, that they won't be able to control themselves. And then once that breaks the deal, I mean, I really pray that Palestine gets in the mix in their agreement. That's the only way.
I do too. And the only thing I will say, I mean, I 100% agree with you, and I hope that's where it's leading, is that it sounds like they're not doing that almost at the behest
strategically
of Hamas and because of their negotiations. But yeah, I mean, like every second that this persists is hell on earth for Palestinians, both in Gaza and the West Bank. And I mean, you know, I guess let's just get to some of the comments today. So just in case anybody hasn't seen some of our idiocracy, this was Trump. Where did it go? Talking.
Yeah, I watched all of this today, by the way, and Trump was off the rails, just free balling the entire speech with just rambling fucking idiocy.
Truly.
Like,
no holds barred, like off his meds, just talking, saying whatever the hell popped into his head with no filter. It was crazy. Oh, weird. I think some of our things got pushed around. So sorry, I'm trying to just find what's going here. Okay. Well, this was basically Trump talking about Israel, saying that without him, there would be no Israel. It kind of reminded me of Biden saying without Israel, no Jew would be safe, which was also
we'd have to make an Israel. Wasn't that Schumer?
Yeah.
Or who?
No, that was also Biden. It was like without
Biden.
Israel, no Jew in the world would be safe. And then yes, also we'd have if Israel didn't exist in the Middle East, we'd have to make one, which actually was, you know, of course, that's the colonial outpost. But then he said, well, okay, so without me, there would be no Israel. This is the start of the G7 taking place in Evian, because why wouldn't it take place in some fancy Davis-like place?
Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Now, I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran. So when you ask me about Bibi, an unbelievable relationship. But Israel would have been blown up a long time ago had I not gotten involved. And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It wasn't like in the southern side, and you know, it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it.
And then just, this is short, but talking about Syria getting involved.
Does not like them. And I'll tell you what, Israel's fighting Hezbollah too long and too many people are being killed. And you don't have to knock down an apartment house every time you're looking for somebody, because there are a lot of people in those apartment houses, and they're not all Hezbollah, that I can tell you.
All of a sudden he cares about civilians being slaughtered by Israelis.
Yeah, none of it rings true from him at all.
Of course.
Right? We know it's not like these people like saying, oh, he's left the Democrats. Yeah, rhetorically or something, like, right. who cares? But yeah. Like all that this is going to do is bring us back to where things were before. It's not closer to peace in the region. It's worse. I mean, yes, in a way it's good because you've given Iran power, which they need, which may get to some actual peace eventually. Yep. But like from if you're playing risk and you're the US, this is a disaster.
Yeah, it's a disaster. And I think he also is very aware that, well, first of all, Israelis hate him now. Like a month ago, he was saying, I could go be president of Israel. They love me here. Now, the latest polls that came out in Israel were here. Positive is 38%, which is a 20-point drop, and a 20-point increase for negative, which is 54%. And on the airwaves in Israel, they are losing their minds. They are, I mean, it's truly like they don't care, and they've never cared. Like, that's the crazy thing. And when US media tries to paint it as like, the most moral army, or, oh, it's an incursion, or, pushing the ceasefire to its brink or something, whatever. Like, no, they are genocidal. They talk about it very openly. They talk about the right to rape. They talk about starving and slaughtering all Palestinians, like, and Lebanese, and maybe then we'll go to Turkey. I mean, they're just truly a genocidal group of people, and they are not happy with him. I am very curious to see what happens, because how long does it take for Iran to shut this straight down? I mean, I think part of the problem is that they have been labeled as terrorists. I know we've talked about this so many times, and their restraint has really brought them a lot of admiration from the world. So they don't have to do too much to go right back to being, because all the media still calls them like the greatest sponsor of terrorism.
And that's what I've been saying, is that they're not going to lose support as this goes on. The world is going to be more on Iran's side. They're going to be more against us. They're going to be more against Israel. They're going to be more pro-Palestine. And so the only way out for Israel, in my opinion, is some sort of false. They have to turn the table on this with some sort of Hasbara, but an actual event that makes people say, "Oh, you know what? They are the bad guys. They are the terrorists."
Yeah.
And there's no way Iran would risk doing that themselves. So whatever happens is not going to be some sleeper cell from Iran, 9/11 type shit. It's going to be Israel.
Yeah. I mean, seeing Democrats talk today, Chris Murphy talking about, well, and he gave them all this money, and so now they're really going to be able to continue with their terrorist proxies. And again, nobody, if you're not talking about Palestinians and the greater Israel project, why Hamas exists, why Hezbollah exists, right? Like, then you're not getting to the root of everything that's going on in the Middle East, and our domination and, financial manipulation of so many of the Gulf countries who, they have their own issues, but like, it will be, I think, much safer for the world if Iran gets its demand, which is supposed to be one of the points of US leaving that region of the world. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't see that one happening, right? Yeah. I see whatever they end up with is some sort of like version where that's written in, but it never happens, or it happens on paper way more than in the real world. And then we return to Israel bombing occasionally, and then, expanding in the West Bank, still punishing Palestinians. And so until Iran gets on board, I think Palestine is really in trouble. I mean, I'm sorry to be stuck on that, but like,
I mean, that's all I can think about is how horrific it is. And then just like, seeing how the US is treating Iranian players for the World Cup, forcing them to like leave this, first of all, one of the players only got a visa for one game, the friendly. And then some of their coaches and managers weren't allowed in. They ended up just having to stay in Mexico watching. The players aren't allowed in. They have to leave right away after each game, and they like travel back to Mexico and stand in lines forever. I mean, it's like our own West Bank checkpoints.
And before the first game, like a lot of them were detained for 5 hours before. So they're not. Imagine the day of your big, your moment. Yeah. And you're detained after flying for 5 hours.
Yep.
And you got to jump in
and treated horrifically,
soccer
right?
match in 100-degree weather.
This is two of the players talking about the disaster of this experience. And it's just so unfair, because they had asked for permission from FIFA to play their games in Mexico because they knew how they would be treated. Meanwhile, by our government. Meanwhile, when they had their first game, which ended in a tie with Finland. Was it Finland? No, New Zealand. Do you remember New Zealand? It ended in a tie.
No, they played New Zealand on Sunday. No, we played. Jesus Christ.
We played Paraguay. U.S. played Paraguay. Okay, but anyway,
we played Paraguay. I think we played New Zealand on Sunday. I'll look it up.
Okay. But they played in the U.S. and when the Iranian flag was unfurled, the crowd went wild. New Zealand. Thank you. That's okay. Like truly supported them in the most lovely way, which is what all of this, should be. But here is Mehdi Taremi and Mohammed Mohebi talking about the way they're treated by the U.S. government.
And everything is like disaster actually for us. It's not the right thing for it, but we don't follow the excuse. We just looking forward. We're having hope for the next 2 games, and we will do our best for our people, and we bring the joy for our supporters.
And I think we must come here 2 days before the game.
Yeah.
Yesterday we came, start the trip, I think at morning, and we arrive at afternoon, and we direct go to the training, and we get tired, I think supposed to be, we came here 2 days before the game. And this kind of things, I think, is not a little bit fair, We need to get fair competitive,
Actually, it's so difficult with terrain in Mexico, and we
there was another player who was talking about that. Some of the, there was another really good Lego, because they're called Team Melli.
And to be fair, they tied, so they got a draw.
Yeah, right.
So after all that, they didn't lose even, and so
right.
You can't say like they might have won. Like,
oh my God, yeah. I mean,
like,
come on, to be treated like that on enemy territory. We're bombing, like we started a war against them, right? Like, and treating them this way. But we've treated everybody black and brown this way. The Somali referee, I think, what was it? Who is it? Uruguay, I think, who is being forced. Yeah, they now have the drug sniffing dogs to be treated like criminals, to humiliate them, to make them have to wait longer. I mean, it's the whole sort of the checkpoint treatment of Palestinians. It's truly horrific. It's truly horrific.
It's who we are. So this is another example of, I'm glad it's on display so everybody knows who we are as a government.
I totally agree. And here's the thing that makes me sad. And I've watched this video so many times because this is what my hope would be if FIFA weren't so corrupt and didn't have its hands bloodied by genocide. And, all the financial corruption. There is a town in Kansas that was chosen by the Algerian team to be its host. It's about 30 minutes from the field where they'll play at the University of Kansas. And they were interviewing some of the people of this town in Kansas. And it was so beautiful. Here's this elderly man talking about what it means to him to have this team from Algeria come to Kansas.
Algeria, and what's the idea you have about Algeria?
So I want to say thank you to Team Algeria for choosing our hometown, Lawrence, Kansas, to come here. And so welcome to United States, welcome to Kansas.
Okay. What do you know about Algeria, and what's the thing make you to come to support Algeria?
So I came mainly because I was so happy that they chose our town for their base camp, and we just know Algeria is on the Mediterranean Sea, and then the south part is in the Sahara Desert. But and we know that you gained independence from France. Kind of around the time I was born, so we don't know too much, but we want to welcome you here.
What about you?
Well,
what do you want to say about Algeria, and what do you have idea about Algeria?
Well, yeah, the only idea I have is so far everybody here has been very friendly and very welcoming, and I'm really glad Algeria is going to be here. And 1, 2, 3, Vive l'Algérie!
So the townspeople come out to greet the team arriving by bus, from their long 10-hour trip from Algeria. They have Algerian flags. The shops have created Algerian toys and things in the colors to sell. And when they went for their first practice, the marching band at University of Kansas had learned the Algerian national song and surprised them by playing it. It was so beautiful. That's what our world could be.
That's what it should be with this, when the whole world comes to play in your country for soccer, it's bigger than football. It's like the whole fucking world for one sport. It's bigger than the Olympics in some ways because it's just different. It's not, I don't know. It's just really depressing when you see how we aren't that, because that's what we should be. And that's how people naturally would be.
I mean, I think most people are. That's the part that I have to have hope in.
Yeah.
Is that most people are that, right? Not
it's
our
true.
Rules, but yeah.
There's an empathy gap with what people think. Even the most unempathetic right-wing Republicans. It's like me when I was a kid. I was like I said, I grew up sort of homophobic because that's how everybody was, right? It was just taught to us.
Yep.
But then you work with a guy who's gay and you're like, tell me more about your gay shit. It's funny. Yeah. It's entertaining. It's culturally, you're a person. I just don't know your world.
Yeah.
And that's how everybody naturally is when they break from their trained
their bubbles.
Bullshit.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Let's spin for a second.
Do that.
I need more wine.
Look at the people. People have spoken.
People have spoken. Okay. So the Iranian team is called Team Melli. And this is, I'll show the 30-second sad one before we go into the 3-minute power one. The way we have so blithely moved on from our horrific war crimes is amazing. Here is FIFA Team Melli. I think this might be Persia Boy. I can't remember, but this has a little more fun fight in it.
From the mountains to the sea, we rise as one. Team Melli. We are Team Melli. We carry the name. Green, white, red. We're lighting the flame. One nation, one heartbeat. We play with pride. No matter the score, we never hide. Team Melli, Team Melli. We fight till the end. We play for the people. We play for the land. Team Melli, Team Melli. Loud in the stands. This is our blood. This is who we are. We come from a land that stood for so long. We strengthen our hearts and fire in our song. We face the hard times, we've been through the storm, but every time we rise, we come back even strong. On the field, we don't play just for fame. We play with the soul of a whole nation's name. From the streets to the stadium, the passion is real. Every step that we take, the whole country can feel. We are Team Melli. We carry the name. Green, white, red. We're lighting the flame. One nation, one heartbeat. We play with pride. No matter the score, we never hide. Team Melli, Team Melli. We fight till the end. World Cup into a game of their own, made it political. Try to break what we've grown, but we're not here for their politics or their lies. We're here for our people with our heads held high. This is more than a tournament, this is more than a fight. Hey! This is our history, this is our right. We play with our hearts, we play with our soul. While they play their games, we stay in control. We are Team Melly, we carry the name. Green, white, red, we're lighting the flame. One nation, one heartbeat, we play with pride. No matter the score, we never hide. Team Melly, we fight till the end. We play for the people, we play for the land. Team Melly, loud in the stands. This is our blood, this is who we are. Team Melly, we rise, we fight. Team Melly, sacred defense. We are iron.
Yeah.
I can't imagine
so good.
the lies being spun about them. And I mean, so many people in that part of the world, all over the world, anywhere that's not like the global north, basically.
But
it's not-
the bullshit has been so on display that I think they've won this war. I mean, the battle of ideas, and like they've broken down this "we're not terrorists" thing, and people are like, the whole world is questioning what we've been doing with this terrorism bullshit,
Right.
right? And there's still like there's a right-wing government and a pro-Israel, section of every major country on earth, right? Because of Israeli propaganda mostly,
Right. And money.
They've injected themselves.
Yeah.
They've bought their way into the right to control how people discuss their war, their genocide. But yeah. Anyway, I love soccer. I grew up playing soccer. It's always been a big part of my life, even though I don't
Yeah.
play anymore. But
No,
if you want to watch the U.S. games, they're all free on Tubi, so you don't have to support.
Right.
I'm sure Paramount gets a couple bucks from it somehow.
We all know how to click through those other websites. You just keep.
There's some other illegal ones, which are my favorites. But also on Tubi, you can watch the synopsis after the fact. So soccer game's 2 hours, and it's a lot for a lot of people that aren't really into the soccer.
Right.
But it's condensed down to like a 15-minute highlight reel, and it's an
Feels like
amazing
a
way to
great
watch
game. It's like
any soccer
basketball.
game. It's just like, oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. Oh my God.
Right.
So I love watching all the games that way. I've watched all the World Cup games so far.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know. I read somewhere that the average basketball player during a professional game runs about 2 miles. The average soccer player, I think it's like between 5 and 9 miles.
It's
like
crazy.
It's just crazy. U.S. will leave the Middle East. Source Professor Pape. Thank you. And you, Susan Vea, for your super chat. I know I saw him talking about that the sphere of their influence, will only grow as their economic, domination grows in that area, as the other Gulf countries realize that having U.S. military bases on their soil is not actually providing them with protection, and as the U.S. slowly sort of has to move away from this area, we're already getting it's just we're truly dealing with sociopaths. This is what they're putting out now. Great. Cuba's next. I mean, that's where we are, but I think they feel like it's much easier to invade Cuba and Venezuela than to deal with Iran. So that's where they're headed.
And in some ways, his strategy has always been distract with the new thing.
Yeah.
And so here's a new thing that he can, maybe get a win out of. Cuba's if we want to start conquering easily conquerable countries, I guess we could just conquer Cuba, and that'll be a win to MAGA or something. I don't know, but
good grief. I want to go to that Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, and just like enjoy people who want to show camaraderie with other people.
Yeah, just become Team Algeria for a few months or a month.
Just like everybody, can't we all get along is really where my head is now, because this is the assault on all of our sensibilities is and you see like the fact that people protesting a genocide or legal what's it called, legal not viewers, not moderators, the people at Delaney Hall who were just indicted for being legal God, observers. Okay. They're being indicted. Mahmoud Khalil, you see, Francesca Albanese, they're coming back after her now just for doing exactly what she was supposed, like that's her job, is to make it like to gather all the information and make a discernment on what is happening to Palestinians. And the fact that it is so difficult to follow international law. This was really interesting. This is from last week, I think, that there's now a petition calling for a boycott of the Israeli Medical Association. Critics are calling for the IMA to be suspended from the World Medical Association over its stance on Gaza. Health organizations are calling for a boycott of the Israeli Medical Association over what they say are violations of medical ethics and international humanitarian law in the war in Gaza. The People's Health Movement, Doctors for Gaza, Health Advisory Council of the Jewish Voice for Peace want the IMA, the Israeli Medical Association, to be suspended from the World Medical Association over its failure to speak out against the genocide of Palestinians, the destruction of healthcare infrastructure, and the torture and killing of healthcare workers in Gaza. And not only have they failed to speak out against it, they have almost to a person actively endorsed the genocide.
Right. Yeah, we're in an interesting time because I think so many people have turned against, like, back to what Matthew was saying about, he leans towards incompetence instead of conspiracy, but that's kind of they're both true. Yeah. Right. But this mission, which is collected, it's the Israel project is tied into the data center project, which is tied into the surveillance project, which is tied into the economic pain that they all know is going to be on us.
Right.
Which is tied into AI and all that. And one piece of it being so exposed is exposing all of it. And we're seeing that we can beat some of this data center bullshit.
Yeah.
We're seeing people fight back to that. And like, that's you're fighting the whole project. Like their incompetence is exposing them as I guess where I'm going with this. Like that people, regular, normal people who don't give a fuck about politics, hate AI,
right?
Support Palestine, like all the things they're programming us every day and still saying on TV every day that we should all believe. Their audience isn't buying it.
Yeah.
Now I know that doesn't change things. We still need something else to change things because what we think doesn't affect our politicians.
Yeah.
But we're getting a win here and there, and that's like.
Yes, I think that's right. I mean, again, I keep thinking about one night in Gaza or the West Bank or so, like, and I can't breathe sometimes thinking about, I cannot even imagine. But the other thing is the bifurcation or separation, like the difference between Marco Rubio and JD Vance. And JD Vance gets to be the sort of like anti-war, America First? I don't even know what they consider him to be.
Yeah.
But like he's sponsored by Peter Thiel. That's a Peter Thiel project, who is the guy who's the tech bro billionaire who wants to create little Zio.
Look, this alleged separation between Rubio and Vance, it's fabricated.
Yeah.
it's branding. They're just like trying to choose a lane to be different than each other, but they support the exact same thing up and down.
Yeah. I am not sure which Wired article that is. Techno-Zionism. God, I don't know why that just keeps like not. He just escaped to Argentina, right? That's crazy. And then he has some bunker somewhere, but I have not seen that article. I will check it out. I think he left the U.S. Yeah, two cheeks of the same ass, exactly.
That's Nina Turner. That's her quote.
Two cheeks of the same ass.
Yeah. Referring to the Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. Well, okay. I thought this was really very interesting. Well, I guess I don't know. There's so many different parts of it. Did you see the thing where Yanis Varoufakis was talking about, I can't remember if it's Alex Karp or somebody else from Palantir, who owes a debt of gratitude to the Palestinians for the panic imprint.
And here I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story that I keep telling in the last few months because nothing has disgusted me and excited me as much as that conversation I had with a certain gentleman who was sitting on my right at a dinner table. At the dinner after the conference, I was sat next to a guy from Cisco on my left and to another guy that I didn't pay much attention to initially. And I was chatting with the guy from Cisco. It was an interesting conversation. It was about quantum computing. And then at some point, a gentleman, a Qatari, on the opposite side of the table, very rich man, but nevertheless, he thanked me for the work I've been doing against genocide in support of the Palestinian people. And the guy next to me, who I didn't know who he was, I didn't know his name, whom he worked for, he said, Gaza, we owe such a huge debt of gratitude to Gaza. And I said, who are you? And he said, oh, I work for Palantir. And I said to him, well, so you owe whom exactly what? You seem to be enjoying the fact that tens of thousands of children were killed there. He said, no, that was terrible. It was terrible. But, and then he pointed at my phone. I had my phone on the desk, on the dinner table. And he said, you see your phone? It is useless to me because it is stationary. When your phone is stationary, it's not moving. It doesn't produce data that I can use. But if you bombard a densely populated area intensely, people move a lot with their phones. Those who don't get killed, he said. He was very cynical. But also quite pleasant, during dinner. And he said, so that created so much data for us that we managed to train our AI that a particular AI agent, which we sold, and then I checked and it was confirmed. We sold for £1 billion sterling, right? That's $1.4 billion to the British Public National Health Service. And I said, what the hell was that piece of AI? What did you sell them? He said, when let's say you're in Manchester or in Birmingham and there is a pile-up at the motorway and 10, 15 ambulances arrive at the hospital, there's panic amongst the nurses, the doctors, and so on. So we have AI that helps them create some order out of the chaos of panic. And we trained that anti-panic AI using the panic imprint, this was the expression, from Gaza. I think that answers your question.
They are so evil. And I'm sorry. I tried to, that was how that video existed, even under Varoufakis.
Sped up.
Yeah. And I kept trying to slow it down. I'm sorry. I don't know why that happened. It's so repulsive. And, just going back, I think, was it Kimmy who just said, did we see that article? It's like the Bilderberg. It's the Society for People who are not using AI or on their tablets and phones all the time, who understand the importance of a liberal arts education and people having ideas discussed amongst themselves with other people whose brains they admire. It's very much like the Epstein roundtables that he would put together with all the scientists and luminaries. And now Peter Thiel is doing it, but it kind of feels like the Temu version of it. It's like, Ezra Klein and I don't know, I don't know. There are some people who are listed who are maybe people who they might want to invite sometime or who aren't regular members. But the idea to me, it's like we were talking about the other day, where like those baby Einstein and baby Mozart tapes when you first have a baby, like Einstein didn't listen to those tapes. Mozart didn't listen to those tapes, right? So these people are pushing something on us that will destroy our cognitive abilities. Yeah. They don't use it, and they understand how necessary a true liberal arts education and exchange of ideas, how that's the only way that to move forward as a society, but they've made it just the most evil people, while the rest of us are supposed to just be slot brain.
Yeah, their little secret society is just a supervillain headquarters.
Yeah, totally.
And I guarantee there's a Shark Tank for guests, and they can pull the lever and just, that's enough of you.
Oh my God.
That guy's such a true scumbag. And AI, man, I don't know, like Sacramento, for example, we just implemented AI. We've got AI surveillance cameras on the parking enforcement cars. And starting next month, anyone who's got their tire in the bike lane is going to get a ticket for $150 for having your tire in the bike lane. Which, yeah, you can lean on it and say, yeah, that's good because we want to have a biking society or something. But we really don't need that level of enforcement, right? And so they already last year, they gave out 57,000 tickets at $150 a piece. And now it's automated. So, it's to raise money. The whole thing's money. It's not making the bike lane safe. And this is what AI does. It's just there to make these people money, to kill people without having a human behind it, to make mistakes that accidentally make Blue Cross fucking $78 billion or whatever.
Yeah. So there was this thing, what was this magazine? And I think this is Wired. No, it's 404 Media. Surveillance company plans to add sensors to automatic license plate readers that would mean the devices, as well as capture the license plate of passing vehicles, would also sweep up unique identifiers of mobile phones, wearables, and other Bluetooth-enabled devices in those cars, potentially letting law enforcement identify specific drivers or passengers. The technology, called Signal Trace, would turn ALPR cameras from devices focused on tracking cars to ones that can more readily track the location of particular people. They become commonly deployed technology all across the US. All of this shit, I want to go back to a flip phone, truly.
And the thing is, we've had no say in any of it, is the point. None of it. We have no say. And it used to be illegal to surveil citizens without a warrant.
Yep.
That's gone, right? And both parties agreed that we don't need a warrant, right? Yep. These flock cameras getting put in everywhere. So they're not only just flock cameras, they're flock microphones. This is another thing people don't realize. They're flock microphones, and the microphones are allegedly trained to hear people screaming and crying out for help. But there's no regulation on the sensitivity and what happens with the data. There's no rules on any of it. So, of course, it's just to monitor everyone's fucking conversations.
How do you turn it on? Like, how often do you pick up your phone and the little orange light is there? I've turned off Siri and everything, but that, in order to be able to say, hey, Siri, that means it's always listening.
Yes. Right? And I don't even have that on because I've turned that off. But I don't know how many times I have just been talking with my boss in the car when we're driving around. And I'm like, I was thinking about this thing. And then I go to my phone minutes later, scroll, and there's an ad for that thing. Yep. And that's not just me. No, I didn't Google search it. And they just got that part. They fucking hear you all the time.
Because there's the only way to wake your phone up by saying, hey, Siri, is for it always to be on.
Well, the ability is there.
Listening.
Yeah, right. Even if you disable that ability,
right?
The phone has that ability.
Exactly.
So somebody else can turn that ability off without you ever knowing it's off.
Exactly.
And that's pretty much happening to for me as a leftist with the podcast that is pro Hamas. This thing is on all the time.
Yeah. Why do you think you keep getting blacked out and lagging?
Yeah, my TV is recording me. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but all these things are happening for sure.
But there is a conspiracy. It's not theory, it's fact. It is happening. Yeah. They are all conspiring to track our every move. That is 100% what's happening. All right. What do you think? I'm trying to see which way to go. We're sort of in a weird to start.
We need an RMI, and then we'll just do one more little topic that won't last forever, right? What do you think?
15
minutes or so? All right.
Yeah.
RMI.
That is why the man said this revolution will be telepathic.
Papa's a billionaire now, you should be proud. Papa's a my God. Papa's a trillionaire now, you should be proud. I cannot hear you, the cheers are so loud. Awake, the crowd is crying, they're starving to death. And now they're silent cause they're holding their breath for the wealth to trickle down, while we wait for the wealth to trickle down. Trickle down, trickle down. Now we wait for the wealth to trickle down. Trickle down, trickle down. Now we see our tears trickle down. Trickle down, trickle down. And I feel my tears trickle down.
Be waiting for the rest of eternity. I love that.
Did that lift your spirits though?
Yeah, super, super lifted. I think maybe we need to do. I think too many people have said that they wanted to see a puppet, so we should throw one in.
If you demand puppets, you get puppets. Do we get cats and dogs or anteaters? Anyone?
What's going to make us happier?
Is there a vote? Is there a vote? Anteaters, cats, and dogs. I think the people have not spoken, so they're getting anteater. Oh, dog or cats? Two first.
There we go.
That's where it's all happening.
Look at her. Stop laughing.
They're so funny. They're really funny.
Okay, you're gonna not like this, but I feel like we had a vote for anteaters and that was short, so we're gonna go with some anteaters.
Yeah, I'm gonna love it. What are you talking about?
I need some anteaters. These little monsters.
Is this a fucking anteater? Hi. What are you?
We might have some bugs in my head, but we definitely don't have any ants. He's using his long tongue to try and find some bugs.
There you go. Those encounter tubes are about a foot long, so if it was double than that, he probably would not have an issue.
No muro de casa, na frente. Uau! Olha lá!
Oiga, quieto, una requisa ahí. Oiga, arriba las manos. Espérese ahí.
Oh my god, is he trying to sit on it?
I'm trying to figure out the shape of their bodies. It's so interesting, and their tongues are just little.
I like that little pose they do.
Yeah,
that pose is cool.
Are they nice? Can they be domesticated? Do we
They
know?
seem like dicks. I don't know.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Only if you have an ant in your hair.
Yeah.
All
right.
I mean, this is just really quick, but I just want to throw it out there because, Axios is all over the place. It's always interesting to see like it's bad enough that we've got the Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, all these kinds of places, but like where do Axios come from? They just feel like they are so clearly state stenographers. But this new, they keep talking about the big split in the Democratic Party, whether it's the economic, like abundance, affordability, or abundance, or Bernie Sanders style, and like a DSA woman just won the mayorship of Washington, D.C., which is interesting. I don't know if that will mean anything. But the thing that the corporate media keeps trying to push is that Jewish Democrats feel shunned by the Democratic Party. And they say that in spite of the fact that I think something like 85% of Democratic voters are anti-Israel, anti-genocide, anti-AIPAC, and you can still be pro-Jewish. One has like, please stop conflating the two.
And well, there's just no doubt politically, like other than the money you would get for being pro-Israel, the public support is on Palestine's side politically, literally everywhere in the fucking country. I mean, Mamdani won in New York with the most Jewish people.
Yeah.
So that narrative is garbage.
But they're going to keep pushing it. So here, God, these brothers, it's Alex Thompson. He writes for Axios, and his brother Derek is the abundance guy who wrote
with Ezra
Klein. That's right. Yeah. And then also, wait, who wrote the book with Jake Tapper? Was that another one of these brothers? Was that Alex Thompson? About how they couldn't believe it, that Biden, they were being kept out of the loop. Biden really did have a cognitive failing. Anyway, with Holly Otterbein, Alex Thompson writes a piece. A growing number of Jewish Democrats tell Axios they feel shunned, unwelcome strangers in their own party with potential 2028 consequences. Jews are starting to feel scared again, said Representative Jared Moskowitz. And then the piece goes on. Jewish staffers in some Democratic campaign offices say they've increasingly felt a chill. One former Biden White House official, no Jews in the Biden administration, agreed with what Netanyahu was doing, but we all felt like we were having to answer for it by the party and our colleagues. I mean, first of all, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
because those people, like some of those people resigned. And also, I mean, sorry, but yeah, like if the Jewish state is committing a genocide in your name, just the way Muslim Americans have had to constantly disavow 9/11 or, be asked the question, do you condemn Hamas, whatever, like, which I'm not trying to compare Hamas to the IDF. Obviously, one is a genocidal lunatic state and one is a resistance movement of liberation. But like, it's just amazing that even the existence of Palestinians seems to threaten these people. It's just crazy.
It does, but their whole narrative is cooked because, like, yeah, we found even that if you take them at their face, we found some people that we talked to. Okay, well, look at the polls, but you can't do that. You have to just always find some people in this group.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing more and more from my Jewish friends. Well, okay. Your Jewish friends aren't the ones that are supporting Palestine. So that's why you're hearing from those people more.
Exactly. I mean, it's like right after Kamala lost, and it's like, oh, Democrats are trying to craft their message is that they went too woke. And it just feels like it's so embarrassingly, obviously contrived in a boardroom where they're like, what's the messaging? What's the messaging? Because we know what everybody wants. How do we reconcile this with what our donors are paying us to do? And I don't know how much longer of this is, you see, like, I get like 5 to 10 emails from Josh Shapiro a day. No idea why. But they're going to try to make him, Gavin Newsom, all of these, AIPAC Zionists. Yeah.
I mean, we all know what a dirtbag he is, but us Californians especially know.
Yeah.
Starting July 1st, by the way, state employees have to go back to work 4 days a week in the office. Hugely popular policy. Everyone wants to go back to work. So why would you even push that policy? Right. So he's been fighting. It went to none during COVID, and then he forced it into 2 days. I mean, we're still during COVID. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He forced it into 2 days. He forced people back in the office for 2 days largely. And now he's trying to make it mandatory on July 1st to be 4 days.
No billionaire tax. And he wants to go back to French Laundry. He's going to be in public. Everybody else has to go back to work.
Yeah. I mean, and the point with that to me is that this is something that's clearly not supported by the public. There's no political motivation for it. It doesn't help him politically to push this narrative. It's just that that's what the ruling class wants. And that's who he is. And he'll do that in the face of the consequences against him because that's his tribe and that's who's going to fund his presidential campaign.
And it's where he will be able to continue being employed even if he loses. Because as we all know, the structure of success, their business model has nothing to do with being elected. It's all about money.
Yeah.
You don't even need to get elected. You just need to run. Yeah, it's they're not doing great. And then to see Chris Murphy out there today talking about like basically going like the most popular Democratic president of our lifetime is Obama, right? As much as I can't stand him. But like when they decry Iran getting its own money back, by the way, like that's not like a gift. That's money we stole, their money, which is, you know, Obama set that in motion. But when they are lambasting Trump for doing the same thing, as Trump tries to separate himself and say why he's so much better than the Democrats and Obama for giving that money. And they're saying it's bad that Trump is doing the exact same thing that Obama did. Like the ideology is just as Kamala Harris said, we need the most lethal military and Iran is the biggest threat to the world. And I'm looking at Iran and the restraint they're showing.
I mean, that's the whole problem with this two-party system is that, and especially the problem with the Democrats as well, is that you've given space for the right to be more progressive on some of these issues. Yeah. I mean, there's no world where,
you know, yeah.
I mean, but since there truly is no, like people bought Trump's anti-war shit, just like they bought Tulsi's, Gabbard's anti-war shit.
Yep.
Because you're not anti-war. You're not anti any of this stuff. You love it all. And we see both parties as the same. So some of these independents made their choice to go Trump because, yeah, he's a fucking wrecking ball and he might be better than you guys on wars. And he's not. He's just as bad, but like they bought it.
Well, because they're given two choices, right?
Yeah.
And if you're going to vote, like, it's like that idea of the voting for the lesser of two evils is what got us here. And whenever anybody says, but there's only two choices, so if you don't, it's just going to be Trump. And what they're doing is taking away what does it do? Like they're acting like, oh, if you just voted for Kamala, things would be better, which they wouldn't be. But also, what does that do for the structure of the Democratic Party to know that no matter what, we're all just going to line up and vote for your genocidal maniac who will never give us health care or a living wage or Green New Deal?
Yeah, I don't even know her name, but there was some black politician somewhere that had a debate recently, and she was so stellar on everything. Super lefty. I'm loving everything she said. I even was like, I don't know if I tweeted her, but I was about to or something. I think I followed her. And then I saw the video of her apologizing for not supporting Kamala because she had bad tweets about Kamala back in the day.
Wait, was that Daria
Yes.
Liza?
Yeah, Daria. I don't know anything about her. But how do you fucking do that? How do you fucking take your debate opponent's argument of like, you got to apologize for, you know, saying things that hurt Kamala in the election and you play into it? And
that's so
she should have been hurt. So you just lost support, at least for me. And I'm not going to throw my money anymore, but there are a lot of people like me around the world that would have gotten behind, I mean, around the US at least, that would have gotten behind progressive candidates anywhere saying the right shit. And now we're like, fuck you. Fuck you, Daria.
Yep. Because they think that, oh, if I just say this, I'll bring it on people a little to the right without taking into account you're going to then lose the people from the left. like it is a zero-sum game, because if you're appealing to shit heel right wingers, you're not my person. Like, if you're like changing your verbiage to do that.
Yes. And if you're doing it to get elected, you will do it to pass a bill down the road, or you would do it, you like.
Yeah. Gross. It's gross.
Yeah.
It's gross. They're gross. We will have, I am sure, plenty to talk about tomorrow. 6:30 tomorrow is our show, our Thursday shit show. Our So Happy It's Thursday. Thank you to Matt Hoh for coming on with his knowledge and honesty, and really, talking about some experiences that are horrifying and painful, and then also his expertise about geopolitics. It was such a pleasure to have him on. I hope he comes back. Do you have anything to say before we sign off?
I don't other than shout out to my local brewery, Squeezy Peasy, New Glory.
Okay. Squeezy Peasy.
Lemon sour, tasty. Local brewery.
I like it.
They're not giving me any money. They're not even giving me like 4 beers.
That's
if
crazy.
Any beer company wants to give me 4 beers, I mean, that's like the cheapest shout out ever on a show. 4 beers.
Come on. I think you need to send them a link to our show.
Let's do this.
Okay, our one good thing tonight is the release of something we showed glimpses of a few months ago when it was still in progress, but today it was the actual. Oh, that's Josh. I was like, wait, somebody's saying Lila isn't nice. I'm like, no, it's just fucking Josh. Shut up.
Josh, send me 4 beers though. Who knows what'll happen? Just send some beers.
It's very long, but it's beautiful. It is a reimagining of Comfortably Numb with Roger Waters, Mona Miari, and we love you guys. Keep punching up. Cheers.
You pushing the button?
Yeah.
Push it.
Not if you can hear me. Is there anyone at home? Come on, now. I hear you feeling down. Well, I can ease the pain, get you on your feet again. Relax. I need some information. Just the basic facts. Can you show me where it hurts?
بعد اللي صار ما في حدا ما ضل في كلام شو نفع السؤال كل اللي راح دار يا دار يا دار سكت الليل والنهار وليل يا دار غصن الزيتون ضلوا شامخ بين النجوم مليان جراح الشعب اللي صار
I feel your pain from New York City. I feel your pain across the sea.
الشجر من تحت الردم نرسم القدر. احنا النور بعد العتم، احنا الوعد، احنا الحلم.
We'll never become comfortable enough. We never knew about the Nakba. I was only 5 years old in 48. We were unaware what was happening over there. It breaks my heart I came on board so late. You reached us all with your rallying call. Now here we stand at the gate.
يا كاتب الورق اكتبوا مليها، احكي لنا كيف كبر هالحصار فيها. وقعوا البيوت ناس بتحيا كتير بتموت. الأرض باقي ومكتوب الرجال.
Time has come for a new beginning. It's time to draw a new line in the sand. Time to clean the slate, go back to 1948. Before the settlers stole the land. When Grandma's key unlocked the door, and everyone revered the olive tree, and every human life was sacred, everyone. Every daughter, every son, with equal human rights for everyone.
محلى حمام الدار، محلى حمام الدار يا يمي نايني.
Is that a lullaby? Is that your child's name? I hear you through the rubble. I can't feel your pain.
يا أمي لاقيني بالسماء حضوني.
I hear you every morning, praying with your mom. Your steadfast perseverance calls me from far. I hear a mother's prayer across the raging main. I hear an angel's voice calling out my name. Palestine must be free. I would cross the ocean just to save one olive tree with equal right for everyone, from the river to the sea. Our destiny, our homeland, Palestine.
'Cause
الشمس هتطلع تاني.
Yeah, and we
لكن
also
شيء-
صحتين
صحتين
with an N.
صحتين
We also say صحة when we cheer. So cheers.
ستار صحتين
صحتين.